Welcome to Business Mastery with Dawn Kennedy, your quick under 45-minute dose of expert insights and strategies to make a positive impact on your business and life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Business Mastery Podcast. As you know, we talk about all the topics here that affect your business. And as the business owner, many times we neglect to work on ourselves or to look at ourselves as being part of the things we need to master to be a master in our business. So I have Carina on here today. We're going to be talking all about your biggest asset in your business. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk more about this. This is the thing that I really love because I see it really allow people to explode their success and their growth when they actually turn and look at themselves and go, okay, what do I need to do here?
Yeah, so incredible. So can you tell everyone who you are and who you serve?
Yes. So my name is Carina Groombridge. I am a business and mindset coach, and I love supporting service based women in business to really grow and scale and thrive in what they do and really get back to loving what they do so that they can have a bigger impact in the world.
Yeah. So I love that because we're all about kind of the impact, right? So why do we start businesses in the first place? We want to have impact. We want to bring our gifts to the world. So one of the reasons you and I specifically were going to talk was because you believe that as the business owner, you are your own greatest asset. Can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when we go and, if you Googled, okay, what strategy would work for this? And you go to the internet, you can find all kinds of answers. But the thing that nobody else can give you is how you're treating and looking at yourself. That's something that you have to give yourself in order to thrive. And I know you mentioned you talked about this on your podcast recently, but the whole idea of burnout and business owners who are constantly on, constantly going, working 24/7, and it only lasts so far. Like it only goes so long that you can operate like that before you just crash. And the whole idea that I want to promote, that I want to have stuck in your head is that in order to grow and scale in a way that is sustainable, in a way that, you could do this forever, you don't need a break, you don't need a vacation. This doesn't mean we don't take them, but we're not sitting there like as a crutch. I need, space, I need a break. And it all comes back to you, and it comes back to how you are operating, how you're seeing yourself in your business, in life, and how you're treating yourself through it.
Yeah, that's important. Before we get into some of the questions about how we do these things, I do want to explore with you how is this different from, positive thinking or affirmations or how we think about ourselves as far as you'll hear things like you have to step into the next level. For example, you hear that quite a bit,
Mhm.
or you must grow as a business owner, or you must have some personal development. But this is actually a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah, so I mean, all of those things are good, like the affirmations and a lot of what you mentioned is very intangible. Like you need to grow as a business owner. Like, okay, what does that mean?
Mm.
And really, we want to boil that down to looking at what it means to you because it might mean something different to you versus your business bestie. Maybe for you, you need to look at um, letting go and trusting others to be able to delegate out more responsibility so that it's not all on your shoulders. But maybe for somebody else, um, what they need to do is actually be able to hit pause and take a break because they're just constantly go, 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 go. And for me, when I look at you as your biggest asset, we're exploring all of the different facets. We're really looking at all of the ways that you are showing up and interacting in your business and looking at what needs to shift in order to get you where you want to go.
All right. So now I'm going to bring up the zone of genius because that is important for people to be able to move into that space and kind of be able to operate there most of the time. So how do we go from doing everything, burning ourselves out, having all kinds of, issues with our own relationship to the business, and then the zone of genius.
Yeah, so I've seen this actually in particular in one of my clients recently where she was kind of like mm, all over the place, like she didn't quite know which direction she wanted to go. And if that feels like you right now, I want to tell you that trial and error is how we correct this. Like,
Okay.
I have the same personal story, just starting business in that I didn't know what my zone of genius was when I started, and it's trial and error and figuring out, "Okay, is this working? Is that working?" And as you keep going, as you keep moving through it, we start to see, okay, this piece doesn't work for me and this piece doesn't work for me. And it allows us to figure out more of what is working and, getting closer to what that zone of genius is. And one thing that I notice with business owners is sometimes we will look to our clients and say, well, this is what everybody's asking for. This is what I need to do. And a lot of the times we won't actually check in with ourselves of, "Is this what I actually want to do? Like, is this what I want my business, my life to look like?" And, let's say you run a group program and all of a sudden everyone is asking you for one-on-one, and you're sitting there going, "Well, okay, there's the demand there, everybody wants it, this would be easy to sell, but does it actually work with the business that you want to be running?" And a lot of the times I'll see business owners being like, "Okay, I'm doing this and this is running," and like, they've got all of these different things on the go, but when we actually boil it down, you're like, I kind of felt like I had to do it. Like,
Mm.
this is working, it's making me money, I have to keep going in it. Whereas sometimes we might actually just need to burn something down in order to, like, build it back to what actually really allows you to thrive and allows you to sit there and go, "I want to wake up and, like, run my business today," not, "Oh, another day, another, like, grind until the weekend, until this, until the next vacation."
Right. So the trial and error to get you to your zone of genius, and then, the current wisdom is you delegate everything that's outside your zone of genius, right? Like,
Yeah.
you find your zone of genius, the things that you do, that you enjoy doing, and you delegate everything else. You're saying that there are even things in our business that would not be in our zone of genius, like programs or products or services. So the trial and error extends past just what you like or don't like. It actually extends to the services you provide.
Yeah, absolutely, and sometimes we can like and enjoy something, but it doesn't line up with where we want to go. Like the, massage therapist that has a dream to own their own, massage studio and have a bunch of employees working for them, but they love giving massages. So there's a conflict there, right? Like, it's either do you want to be running a small, personalized service, or do you want to be building that bigger business that maybe requires you to step into the management role, step into a CEO role? And like this, your zone of genius, we want to really tap into what that is. Or do you enjoy leading? Do you enjoy, you know, the managing others and seeing that growth and being able to take your skills to impact more people and train people to operate as you do? Or do you want to build a business where you're like, no, I'm good, just me. Like, I want to run this. I have a wait list out the door. So, yeah, it really boils down to and comes back to what does it look like for you? Like, where do you wanna be in 5 years, in 10 years? And what decisions do we have to make right now and lean into that zone of genius of yours now to get you there?
So somebody who's gonna be listening or watching this podcast are gonna be like, "Yep, there's stuff that we do, don't exactly love it, not really my zone of genius, and delegate it to somebody." Well, maybe it's breaking even or making some money in the business, and you're saying, "I'm gonna take something that's making money," and you're saying I should consider burning that to the ground. What would be the benefit? And here's why I wanna go there. Very early in business, I would say even within the first 10 years, let's even go past the 5-year mark, um, through that whole trial and error thing, when you find the things that are generating and making you money, even if they make you miserable, I think people stay there.
Mhm. Well, it's easy to stay in a
Mhm.
way, right? Like, it's uncomfortable because you don't like it, but there's, like, this pull of the security factor of it, right? Like, this is what people expect of me, money's coming in the door, you've lined everything up, but and I mean, I would not take this advice, like, blanket this advice to everybody.
Sure, sure.
It's very much, business specific, and if you're sitting there going, "Oh, that might be me," like, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Please don't burn things down without a strategy and plan to move forward. But, really now I've lost my train of thought.
It's okay. This is edited. So yeah, we want to talk about what is the benefit and the impact of burning down the things that aren't in your zone of genius?
Yeah, um, thank you. Because when you go down that road, it leads to burnout, it leads to dissatisfaction, it leads to, not enjoying what you're doing on a regular basis. So it might mean that things need to shift. And when I say burn it down, I mean, what else is going to work or what else could work that you would absolutely love? Maybe it's something that is kind of in parallel, like it's similar, but not quite what you're doing. Maybe it's something totally different, and that's fine too. But it's important to really figure out, are you loving what you're doing? Do we just need a few tweaks for you to get to that place of like, oh my God, this is so good. I love my business. Or do we need a total overhaul and to, go with that? Okay, it needs to be burned down and then we need to do something else. And this is one of my clients did this and they needed to really work on for themselves letting go of um like, supporting people individually. They wanted to move to more of a group model, group dynamic, which that's what they really enjoyed, but they had this kind of, like, pull towards all of these people that they had originally said, like, "I'm here for you, I'm gonna take care of you, I've got you," and they saw it as breaking their word to them, so they had to cut that tie, and in that looked like trusting that somebody else would be a much better fit for them.
Mm.
And they needed to trust that, the people that they're letting go of would be okay and that it is okay to change, to grow. Because at the point that they signed on all of those clients, that's what they wanted. That was like their genius zone. That's where they were happy in. But now they've grown as a business owner, as a human, and they're different now. So they want to make different decisions. And part of our coaching together was really being okay with making that shift and being able to let go and say, I have changed and this is the direction I'm going. And if you'd like to come with me, you are welcome to. And if you don't, that's okay. Like, there's somebody else out there who's going to best support you in a capacity that is no longer what I want to be doing.
So let's talk about that because that takes a lot of courage to take
Oh, yeah.
business that is turning money, profit, and all that, and saying, while I was excited about
Mm,
this and while I enjoyed it, and you said it was her zone of genius before, it sounds like pieces of it might have been, right? Because
mhm,
when you're trialing and erroring, so and finding that zone of genius, it takes a lot of courage to say, "I have discovered that this is my zone of genius, and this is where I thrive, everybody thrives," and to get rid of the things that are not serving. To your point, knowing that there's someone else out there that can serve and do things better than you did, also, I think takes a lot of courage. There's a lot of in the business space of, I want to keep my market share, or in our space, they don't want to reject business or clients because they're not a good fit. So, that was a very courageous thing for them to do. And I do wanna talk about sort of that courage to stay in your zone of genius, even if it means losing some of your business.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, I find this is really where coaching comes into play because those things are scary. Like, making that kind of a transition, really being able to shift it and not, um, how can I put this? Like, not crush yourself in doing it. Like, not sit there with the full weight of it and be like, "This is terrible," and either it will keep you from making that shift, or you'll make that shift and feel awful about it.
Mm.
And there's a third option out there where we can make that shift and feel good about it. And this is, I feel like, the one of the benefits to coaching is being able to see something different, something that you couldn't see there before. And for me as a coach, I look to, where do you want to go? What are we creating and how are we going to get you there? And, carrying on this baggage of like, did I make the right decision? Oh, I'm letting people down. Did I do it right? Like, this is just baggage that we don't want to be carrying to our next level. It weighs you down. It slows you down. We don't want it.
Right, right. So that gets to the other point, which is the idea of responding in circumstances versus reacting to circumstances. And I think that some of the circumstances that test you the hardest is when you realize that you're doing something that isn't maybe serving you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the if you find it's not serving you, then that's what we need to shift. Like, that's a, big, red sign, if you will, to be like, "Okay, here's where we need to change. Here's what needs to shift in order for you to see different results." And, there's a concept that I use that I wanna share with everyone. It's called the model, and you had said, reacting versus responding to things, right? And in this concept of the model, it really takes a situation and it breaks it down into, like, very, um, kind of black and white. It's one freeze frame of something that's happening in your business. And there is our initial response to what is happening, that, like, gut reaction of, these are the thoughts in my head, this is the circumstance that's going on, and these are the results that are playing out. And then there's how we intentionally want it to look. And these are two separate things. First, we want to recognize what is happening in your brain, what's happening right now for you, because it's creating a result. And maybe you love that result. Maybe it's something that you would rather change. And so, this tool, the model, what it allows you to do is say, okay, this is what's happening right now. And this is actually where I want to go. And I just want to give a really, like, super simple example of this. Imagine outside it's, minus 20 degrees. Okay. Just, we're going to go with a very easy example. And the model really tells you and walks you through, um, how do you think about that? Are you sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's so cold? And you're maybe feeling like, ugh, like, I don't want to go outside. It's like cold, it's miserable. I want to curl up inside. And you stay inside all day, you don't go outside, don't get fresh air. And then as a result, you're just kind of like moping around the house. Whereas somebody else might be sitting there thinking, oh, it's minus 20. Like, all right, the dog needs to go for a walk. Like, let's get some fresh air. Let's, go to the ski hill. And they have a great day. They're super happy about it. They're, outside enjoying the weather, enjoying the, nice crisp feel.
That'd be Chris.
And
Yeah.
it'd be crisp. It'd be crisp. And the end result is they have a great day. And the whole point, what I want to really bring it around to, is the results for these two different people are very different, right? One person is like kind of like moping around the house, like meh. And then the other one is out getting fresh air, enjoying themselves. And it doesn't have anything to do with the circumstance, with how cold it is outside. It has everything to do with how we're thinking and how we're feeling about it. And so this is something that we can go and apply to business, because for every circumstance, different people are going to have a different way of thinking and processing through it. Like, for example, during COVID, some businesses crumbled. They failed. They went under and, like, thank you very much. Goodbye. And some thrived. that doesn't necessarily mean that they were in the quote unquote right industry. I'm not talking about the ones that were in the right industry, but I'm talking about the ones that saw what was happening and pivoted and thought differently and sat there and went, "Oh, crap, like, we need to do something here," and shifted things rather than like, "Oh my god, this is terrible," arms up in the air like, can't do anything about this. This sucks," and then, they get the result that they get. So I don't know if that makes sense,
It
but
does, but now
quick run through.
yeah, this now brings us back to the zone of genius. I would now be very interested to finding out whether the people who gave up their businesses so easily were in those phases of burnout or were not working in their zone of genius, and this just I'm not saying it ended up being a good thing, overall, but what I'm saying is it gave them a way to say, "This isn't working," and maybe they didn't give themselves permission to, like you said, trial and error something that might be working, or maybe they weren't able to see there was another opportunity, or they didn't give themselves permission, because from this conversation, I think it's very clear that having that outside perspective, not just to bounce ideas off of or give you a new perspective, but sometimes it can be that permission. Hey, I'm really scared to
Mhm.
burn this down. And you're like, okay, well, let's run through, what happens if we do? What happens if we
Yep.
don't? And at the end of the day, coming back to that mastering yourself and running a business that you not only feel good at, you can show up at your highest level. Um, it's all connected. It's all very interconnected. And I think sometimes we get away from that the further we are from maybe founder space, right? So we get a little bit
Mm.
further away, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years in business. And all of a sudden, these things do come up, and we are so busy investing in growing the business and the technology and the strategy. And I don't think we circle back enough and go, zone of genius or not.
What about me?
Right? What
Yeah.
about me?
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, that higher level of thinking comes with you taking care of you and taking care of yourself, right? And it doesn't have to be like a lot of people will think of, "Oh, spa days, get your hair done." Like, that's not what I'm talking about at all. If you like those things, great, build them into your day, build them into your week, your month, whatever. But when you want to be able to access that higher level of thinking, that problem solving mode that you can go into, it requires you to be taking care of you in order to access that. Otherwise, if not, it's almost like the door is shut. Like, if a problem comes at you, you're kind of like, ah. And in reactive mode, rather than being able to calmly process and respond. And this is a huge shift I've seen in so many of my clients who they'll come to me and be like, "Oh my god, I just had this problem in my business." And like, a problem that equates to like 5 figures in something that a bill that they're gonna have to pay. And they're sitting there going, "Yeah, but listen to how I solved this. This is what I did. This is, like, how I responded to it, and, I went and delegated it out, and then I was able to actually focus on my clients." She's
Yeah.
like, "Had this been 6 months ago, I would've yelled at everyone I could. I would have been pissed off, and I would have probably taken at least a week and neglected the client work I needed to do and been angry and not be able to resolve my problem." And it like, all of that shift in how she was able to manage that current problem she had was because of how she took care of herself, because of how the work that we had done together to really clean things up that needed to be cleaned up so that she could get to that next level in her business.
Right. So the react, respond, you said something about taking a snapshot in your mind. Walk us through how we change that perspective from 6 months before I'm going to yell and scream at everybody to now I'm going to make space for me to actually, again, master the problem, master what I need to do.
Yeah, so I don't really have a short answer for that.
That's okay.
Because, like, this client, that specific client that I'm referring to, we had worked together probably 5 to 6 months at that point, and we were really kind of, like, cleaning out the closet, so to speak, on ways that she was operating in her business, and then in the ways that weren't serving her. She was a person who, wanted to take care of everyone, and it made sense in the industry that she was in, and it was great for her clients and, like, uh, she was in
Mm,
insurance and, like, really taking care of people, but then it also resulted in her hiring people who needed to be taken care of. And
no.
yes, and these people, like, just a handful of people were toxic to her business environment because they weren't there to do a good job. They were there more for, like, a handout, so to speak, and she wanted to help them. She wanted to, be able to, like, uplift them, but it was coming from a space that she was calling in the wrong people, and she was calling in the people who didn't care, who just wanted somebody to, like, spoon feed them, so to speak,
Right.
and they weren't there for the bigger mission. They weren't there to support their clients. They unfortunately did an awful job, and when she eventually got to the point of, like, "Okay, I'm letting this person go. They're not for me, for my team," she discovered all the mistakes, all the things that weren't going well that they were responsible for, but in the end, she was able to see it and change it, and now she's at this place of, like, she's the most amazing employees. She's built an incredible team that has is able to support even more people now and support her while on maternity leave. So, all of that to say, it's not a short, she did these 3 things, but really she was able to figure out how her actions weren't serving her. And they were coming from a place of, like, I want to help people, but she was calling in the wrong people in order to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So it's habitual. If that's our nature that we want to do it a certain way, isn't it our nature to hire people for the same sort of thing? So I can see that. And I know many business owners who have made those kinds of miscalculations as far as, I like this, so we should do this. And it's maybe not serving the bigger market. But
Mhm.
you did point out that it started from the awareness or the realization that all the mistakes or all of the things that we're pulling the thread from kinda came from the same place and the same set of decisions.
Yeah.
So the react not response actually sounds like it started first with that awareness, like the snapshot in time and looking at the photograph and going, "Oh, all of these threads come sort of from the same place."
Yeah.
And,
Well, they come from you, right?
yeah,
Like, how you're responding to things, how you're thinking about things, how you're taking decisions, like, it comes from you, and there's gonna be some things that are really good that have allowed you to grow and establish your business, and then there's gonna be some pieces to that that aren't serving you, that won't help you to get to the next level that you wanna go to.
right. Even maintaining it sounds like the current level without the frustration and, running a business that maybe you're not in love with. Back to the kind of original reason for getting a coach when you are stuck is because the stuckness, you're in it, right? You can't necessarily see all the things. So,
Well, we can never see it, right?
right.
It's like that check your blind spot. There's a blind spot there. Even when you do check, like, there is still a blind spot, and
Sure.
that's what coaches are for. That's what getting support is for, to be able to point out and show you, "Hey, you keep doing this thing, and this is the result you're getting. It's not what you're saying you want, so here's how we could shift it. Here's how we could change it."
Now, isn't that interesting? These are the things that you're doing, you're getting the result you don't want. We will look at everything except for ourselves in a lot of cases
Mhm.
because um we don't think that we necessarily maybe need to change. But to your point of that trial and error and getting to the zone of genius, finding the places where you serve at your best and highest, and then sort of either delegating or kind of parsing out all the other things, it still starts with you as the owner. We always think and talk about how the owner sets culture and those kinds of things, but
Mhm.
it's more than that. Um, to your point from your story, we also have the I guess internal innate we're going to hire maybe people like us or people that like
Mhm.
your point we want to help and that's very interesting that that would be something that some people would look at and say, well, it's a sabotage strategy, right? Like you would hire people who were not all A players, but you did it maybe without knowing that that's what you were doing, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So I do want to talk a little bit too about how we kind of unpack some of that personal development mindset work that we do and apply that to our own taking care of ourselves because a lot of the mindset work that we do is to shift our perception of the outside world, but it
Mhm.
sounds like a lot of the mindset work you do is we're shifting perception of the inside world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our outside world changes when our inside world changes, right? Like it's a reflection of
Okay.
what we're creating is stemming from how we're processing inside, right? Trying to think of a good example of this.
This is a little deep today, but
Yeah,
you're
I
listening
know.
in
We're just
because you have to master your soul. Like you have to go and do this hard work. Um, so yeah,
and I just wanna say it might sound hard and complicated and like, "Oh god, I don't know what to do," but for me, it's really easy to see. Like, as your
sure.
coach, it's really easy to have, like, a conversation about what's going on and be able to pull out, "Okay, here are things that are blocking you. Here are ways that you're kinda self-sabotaging right now." And I also find it interesting because, like, sometimes we feel stuck and we wanna get support, but other times and where coaching is also wildly beneficial is when things are going really well, and you're like, "Okay, things are going great, and I want them to be even better." And I love this idea that, imagine where you are right now, and imagine if you were to rate it on 10, like, if we said, "Look at your business," what would you rate it? Is it a 5 on 10? Is it a 9 on 10 of, like, overall? We're talking bigger picture. And imagine if it were, like, a 2 on 10. Imagine if, like, what it was today was a 2 on 10, and then that means that we have got so much more growth opportunity, so much more to go and explore, and I just think it's such a fun thing to think about and look at because it's not just, "Oh, I feel stuck, things feel like something's off." It can be, "I want more." Like, things are going great, and there's another level to that.
Right. Right. But it sounds like that even when things are going great, there's room for some self-reflection
Oh.
with when we get to the next space. So, I think that's kind of the crux of this, the decisions we make, the perceptions we have, the things that we lens through. To your point, we grow, we evolve. What we liked 4 years ago may not be what we like today, or the way we like to serve has changed, or maybe there's some tech. I'm seeing this with AI now where there are a lot of people who are very resistant to it because they don't like the way it sounds in marketing. Yet when they talk to other people, they're being told, well, this is the wave of the future. Maybe they're being a little resistant. So when we're looking at this and evolving again our zone of genius and that model and evolving where we are, um I'm curious if you need a coach when things are not going great, if you need a coach when things are going well. I'm one who thinks that every business owner forever should have a coach and therapist. Right?
I know, right? I
That's just
agree.
kinda that's just kinda how I personally believe you keep yourself somewhat sane and grounded. But so, yeah, let's talk about this need for these check-ins and this self-reflection through the entire evolution and not just at these stages, because from this
Mhm.
conversation, I think it's becoming very apparent that things do evolve, and we do things based on, I would call it habit. That she Your example of the business owner who hired people who needed what she gave to her clients, that might have just been a habit. Like, these are the
Mhm.
people that I work with, and so obviously it should be my employees as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, habit is one thing and it may serve you in some cases, but we want to see where do you want to go from here? Like what would be really wildly beneficial? And there's a concept that that I use with my clients where we look at their self-concept. And this is who they're becoming, where they want to go. And it's like a check-in, checkpoint, if you will, that we can do at any level, at any phase of your business, whether you're just starting, whether you've been in business for 10 years, we wanna look to and craft who you're becoming. And it's really kind of a process to almost formalize and know the direction that you're going. Not to say it can't change, it might shift over the years, that's fine. But imagine, like, if you're a boat in a harbor and if there's no captain behind the wheel, you're just gonna bounce around. Maybe you'll get out of the harbor, maybe you won't, who knows? But the idea of the self-concept is really to say, "This is where I'm going, this is what I'm aiming for, and we're gonna go in that direction." And maybe it might change, maybe it might tweak, like, you're gonna be off a few degrees, it's fine. But it really allows you to say, "This is where I wanna go," rather than this idea of, "I'm gonna get up, do my work for the day, head down, and go through the motions," because let's be honest, it's really easy because as you continue to grow your business, there's a lot of demands on your time. There's a lot of things that you're going to need to look at and do and all of it. But if we don't pick our head up long enough to go, this is where I'm going, this is what I want, then we're just that boat in the harbor bouncing around. And where do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years?
Right. So it's very interesting that you had the person separate from the boat, because inside that self concept, how many business owners identify themselves only as the business owner, that they've tied their identity to their business?
Mm, true. Very
It
true.
happen a lot.
Yes, and I find it happens in a way where if you get any negative criticism, if you get a one-star review or somebody complaining about something, then I find it shows up there the most to not be able to differentiate you being attacked, we're gonna say, versus a complaint or something against your business. And I can tell you that being able to separate those 2 things will give you so much more peace and so much more calm. It's incredible because I've had clients go through that process of like, "Oh, well, they said this negative thing about me. They said this negative thing about me." It's like, first, it's about your business. Second, that that doesn't have to crush you. It could. You could let it crush you, but it doesn't have to. And go you can move from here, and there's a lot of things that you are within your control, like actions you can take, ways that you can show up versus just, like, hands off the wheel being like, "Ah, like, what is happening? Oh my gosh, this is terrible."
Right, right. Yeah, and back to your boat analogy. I mean, if you're the one who decides it's got to be a boat instead of a plane or a car or walking or a bull or a camel or a goat, whatever it is, right? So you can decide in the future that maybe you graduate from a small boat to a yacht as far as what you're driving. But again, it's you behind the wheel. And I think that's sort of the point to hit home in this episode is um you do have to be your biggest asset.
Yeah, and well, see yourself as your biggest asset,
Mm.
right? And I don't know about you, I am a mom of 4, and if I don't take care of me, like, this whole house suffers.
Right.
And it's the same as your business, and I know just yesterday, I had to, like, pry my toddler off of me to my mother-in-law as I ran out the door to go play soccer. It's like, "Mama's gotta go. You will be fine." And I know a lot of people who maybe wouldn't do that, who'd be like, "Oh, they're so sad. They don't want me to leave. I can't leave them." And we could take that and apply that to our business too. Like those tasks that you were holding on to that you're like, "I'm the only person who could do this," or "I'm the best person to do this." Like, maybe you're not. Maybe we just need to focus on the thing that you're really good at and really love, not the thing that you're proficient at and do really quick. But again, like, it's not your zone of genius.
Right. All right. So I'm going to ask this because I know that there are a ton of business owners who started businesses over years. And where are the role models? If someone is told, you have to envision for yourself, you need to see yourself step in, you need to do this. If you are somebody who maybe hasn't ever seen themselves in a role or they try to envision their next step, where do they look? Because I know that that's a sticking point for a lot of people when um, they talk later on and they're like, "I never saw myself doing XYZ until I did it," right? That we hear that a lot. But in order to get to where we can envision ourselves maybe driving a yacht instead of a tugboat or something, that's a big leap. And some of us don't visualize very well. A lot of us actually can't necessarily visualize um, sort of what we need to step into. And we hear all the time you need to step into the next place. So if you don't visualize, or you can visualize, or you don't have maybe a tangible roadmap, how do we do it? Who are the role models? What are we looking for? How are we? Because you're reading the books, right? You're doing the work, you're watching the videos. And I know I can speak to a lot of people who are going to listen to this episode. So how do we cross that final sort of what I see as the gap that helps us, continue to make sure we're following the zone of genius and taking care of ourselves because we can't maybe see the next level right away.
I love that. Okay, this is such a good question because most of us don't see that bigger vision, right? Like, I have actively had to create and brainstorm on what that looks like for me because it just it wasn't ever in my realm of thinking. And so some of the ways that you can do this for yourself is um first look at who you're surrounding yourself with, who are you talking to on a regular basis? I forget who coined this concept, but you are the 5 people that you hang around with the most, right? So if you're hanging around with people who, um, if they're not business owners, and let's say you can't have non-business owner friends, but if you look at those people that you're surrounded by, are they helping you get to where you wanna go or not? Like, are they supportive of who you are becoming? And this doesn't mean we have to go ditch our friends, but you can start to cultivate new relationships with people that are maybe a few steps ahead of you. And that's one piece of it. This is something that I've built for myself. Um, but also for the there's certain support that you can bring in as well. And I know for me, one of my coaches, she runs a, I don't know, 10 million plus dollar business, and I'm not at this level yet, but I would like to go to that level. And I listen to how she thinks, to what she talks about, to, just pull all of the little nuggets of gold, if you will, from how she sees herself, how she's operating in the world, and just like the little things that can happen when you reach that level. And so I would say, who can you plug into?
Yeah.
Who can you listen to that is going to broaden your perspective? And for me, I realized even before I got a coach in the first place that I had to do that for myself before starting my business because I literally could not see how I could support myself and my family from, the vantage point that I was standing at in that moment because there were no entrepreneurs in my family. This was not a thing. I, grew up thinking you go to school, you get a job, you retire, like done.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship was not in the realm. So I really had to bring my brain on board with that. And if maybe you're like, I don't have a circle of friends like that, then you need to go to work to figure out who is that example for you. And it could just be pieces. It doesn't have to be somebody in your industry, but looking to, who's that couple steps ahead of you that you can be like, "Oh, like that could be fun." Or just ways that you can bring in new ideas. Like somebody was talking about traveling to Spain and just like spending a month there. Just because, like working from there, kind of like relaxed culture. And it's like, it's a really good idea. I wonder what that would look like. Like for me and my family. So there are ways, if you choose to look for them, to bring in new ideas. And this is a big part of the self concept that I teach my client is what is it going to look like at that level? How will you think and process at that level that you want to be at? And if all you can think of is, okay, well, there's this dollar amount that I want to reach, like, all right, cool. What would that look like? Would it look like you having a personal chef? Would it look like you no longer doing your laundry, like you're outsourcing your laundry so you don't have to take care of that? Would it look like you having your, bags packed, everything taken care of, all you have to do is leave the house? I don't know, just making stuff
Well,
up. But
yeah,
but
but to your point, the question is, I wonder what that could look like, I think is the question that we don't ask enough.
well, exactly, and
We
it's
don't ask it
fun
enough.
question.
Huh, what could that look like, which is so open-ended and so, um not what should this look like, right? So we get into this, I call it shoulding ourselves. So it's I
Yes.
think right? So what could that look like? I think if nothing else, that is probably the most powerful question we could ask.
Yeah, because a lot of people stop at, "Oh, I wanna make this dollar amount." Like, "Okay, but what does that actually mean to you?" Like, I have a personal goal to throw the best party at my house that is fully catered, that has a bit like, ridiculous party, and I don't think of a dollar amount of like, "Oh, I wanna make this much money." I think of, "What would I do with that?" And how would it shift my life, my experiences? How would that look? Because really, that's for me, that's the point. Like,
Right?
having the experiences, having the, like, fun times, and it just helps you to explore all that much more of, what would I really enjoy? Like, would I enjoy, goofing off and having, like, a weekend-long spa, whatever, with my friends? Or would I like to do this other thing? Who knows?
Right.
But, uh
Amazing. All right. So where can everybody find you and follow you and stalk you on social and learn more about you?
Yes, all the places. So I have a podcast called You Are Your Biggest Asset. So you can go find me on there. You will also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Carina Groombridge Coaching.
Amazing. All right. So we're going to put all that down inside the show notes and description. So if you find us when we launch, you'll be able to find Karina. And if you find us 2 years later, you'll still be able to find Karina.
You'll still find me.
We'll still find you. So I would encourage you to I'm going to just say, put it on a sticky note this week. And if you have an idea, ask yourself, what could this look like? And then reach out if you don't have a coach and make sure you're getting that support. Very important for you to again be your biggest asset. So thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a great conversation. I appreciate you. All right, we'll talk to you next time on the next episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to DawnKKennedy.com, and you can now check us out on YouTube, as well as, of course, any of your favorite platforms that host podcasts. Take care.